is Farmers TV, the Farmers Partner, where we educate and inform you on the current affairs in the sector. It is another week in January 2017, and top on our stories today. Estimated 30% food produced in Kenya is lost or wasted. Increased fight against aflatoxin, and Kenya Airways cargo export flowers to Australia. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Malachi Motano. An estimated 1.3 billion tons or 30% of food produced in Kenya never reaches the table as it is lost or wasted along the supply chains. Speaking during the launch of the first All-African Post-Harvest Congress and Exhibition in Nairobi, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Willie Bett said food wastage was a serious global issue but more pronounced in African countries in the south of Sahara. He said an efficient, productive food system with minimal loss is needed.
While Kenya requires 29 million bags of maize annually, the country was only able to harvest 21 million bags from the 2016 harvest. This is lower than the 32 million bags of maize that was expected to be harvested during the year.
We have now 21 million 90 kilogram bags. We have a system at the ministry of tracking what is being held by farmers and what we are holding at the National Cereals and Produce Board as strategic food reserve.
The Agriculture Cabinet Secretary says the country has sufficient stocks to feed the nation until June this year. He says the government would put in place measures to bolster food supplies in the coming weeks.
We will only have an issue if this rainfall pattern will continue the way it is. We will have an issue. And in the next 1 or 1.5 months, with the kind of close monitoring of the situation, we will see the trends and we will now start making decisions. But as we speak now, we are not at a level where we would want to make a decision as far as issues of importation or anything is concerned.
Leveraging our 130 million investment multiple times over. Through the UN Sustainable Development Goals, governments have pledged to cut food loss and waste in half by 2030 and have the opportunity to grow their economies while doing so.
The 30% loss to post-harvest losses across the world is enough to feed over 1.2 billion hungry and undernourished people.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Dr. Willie Bett is calling for more data to be collected to ascertain the losses suffered by farmers and also track the progress being made every year. He says the government is encouraging the private sector to invest in agriculture by providing incentives such as waivers. The CS says the ministry is providing linkage between production and market for horticulture farmers as well as fighting aflatoxin in cereals through technology and providing capacity building to farmers.
The Cabinet Secretary called on researchers and institutions of higher learning to help generate data that can aid in dealing with the challenge caused by post-harvest losses, now pegged at 30%.
Issues of coordination. What coordination mechanisms should be put in place? Such that what is available at research stations effectively and efficiently and very fast reach the farmer. While at the same time, how prepared is the farmer to receive this technology? How complicated is this technology?
The mandate of universities is to teach and conduct research and extension to inspire communities to achieve their development goals. And this is what we should be doing here in this university and other universities in collaboration with other agencies.
The 30% loss to post-harvest losses across the world is enough to feed over 1.2 billion hungry and undernourished people.
Kenya Airways cargo is now exporting Kenyan cut flowers to Australia. The news service was informed by a market research that identifies Sydney and Melbourne in Australia as key markets for Kenyan flowers. KQ Cargo is targeting to lift over 30 tons of flowers into Australian per month as part of revenue improvement in the ongoing Operation Pride. The airline has partnered with Australia's largest airline and flag bearer, Qantas Airways. It is time for a short break, but still to come. Kenya Pipeline Company launches Kisumu Oil Jet. Tea production expected to drop due to ongoing drought, and Kenya bans Uganda poultry after bird flu outbreak. Don't go away. Kenya Pipeline Company is set to commence construction of Kisumu Oil Jetty in March to facilitate safe transportation of the petroleum product through Lake Victoria to the neighboring countries. The construction of the jetty is expected to take 6 months and will increase the corporation's competitive edge in the region as the leading oil transporter. The corporation has already placed a notice in the dailies inviting companies to tender for construction of Kisumu Oil Jetty.
The proposed Kisumu Oil Jetty is expected to ease flow of petroleum products in the region. The state corporation has already advertised in local dailies, inviting firms to tender for the project, whose construction is set to commence in March this year. Kenya Pipeline expects the pipeline to add efficiency to the petroleum transport business as it eyes higher demand from neighboring countries. In the first phase, the jetty is expected to boost throughput in Kisumu by 1 million litres annually. This will in turn increase to 3 million litres per year by 2028. KPC Managing Director Joe Sang says the new line will transform Kisumu into a focal point of oil and gas commerce in the region through safe transportation of fuel. Annual petroleum product demand for Western Kenya region is 1.1 billion litres, while the total regional demand stands at 3.3 billion litres.
Tea production is projected to drop by 30% due to the prolonged dry spell. According to Kenya Tea Development Authority KTDA Chairman Peter Kanyago, there has been no increase in crop production, urging tea farmers to embrace themselves for a hard time in coming months. Most parts of the country have been hit by hard dry spell, which have in turn affected farming activities. Among crops that have been expected is tea, whose production is expected to dip.
Most parts of the country have been hit hard by long dry spells, which have in turn affected farming activities. Among crops that have been affected is tea, whose production is expected to dip. Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA, is projecting a 30% drop in tea production this year.
It's a lot lower than in the previous year. Because of this prevailing drought, we have very little crop. Yes.
There are fears that reduced production could affect earnings, which has prompted some factories within Nyeri County to contemplate retrenchment to cut on costs. This comes even as tea prices have started improving at the Mombasa tea auction after months of volatility.
The good prices, and as I always said, it is the supply and demand. We don't have a lot of tea. In fact, some places, they are getting 50% of what they used to do. So that's why we have good prices. But the months of July, August, September, prices were not very good. But they started stabilizing in November, December, and now in January, the prices are stable.
Experts say the low production could push up demand for the produce as well as prices.
The supply is lower, we expect the price to be slightly higher. So that might mitigate the... But all the same, there will be less earnings for the farmers. Because with less tea...
There will be more costs. Yeah.
Less tea, it means more cost per kg.
Yeah.
on the overheads.
This comes on the backdrop of KTDA announcing that it has found new markets for tea in Iran and Russia after the United Nations lifted a 10-year embargo. Kanyago says KTDA will expand the orthodox tea product in order to dislodge India and Sri Lanka that has dominated the market over the years.
Kenya has banned poultry products from Uganda after a confirmed outbreak of bird flu. Ugandan authorities detected the virus after a mass die-off of birds on the Lake Victoria shore. Officials on the border have been placed on a high alert to ensure no chicken products get through. The fear is that the disease could spread to humans. According to Kenya Veterinary Chief Officer Juma Ngeya, a newly imposed ban on poultry products from Uganda would remain in place until the situation in Uganda returns to normal.
The outbreak of the deadly avian influenza has sent shockwaves in the region, a viral disease that can be transmitted to humans through contact with infected birds or their fecal matter. Kenya taking the precautionary measure by banning the importation of poultry and poultry products.
Kwa sababu ikiingia huku itabidi serikali iue kuku zote. Na kwa hivyo lazima tujihatari sana tukomeshe isipite ikuje sehemu hii ya Kenya.
A ban already being implemented at the Malaba and Busia border points, this trader was bringing in these chicks into Kenya, but his expedition was cut short.
Unfortunately, I was carrying chickens, that stock hens. Unfortunately, they were arrested because that they were suffering from swine flu, because they hear that Uganda hens are dying of swine flu. That's why they arrested. So they wanted to secure their country.
Kenya has requested the Ugandan government not to clear any birds for export into the country while cancelling all poultry importation permits into Kenya. The avian flu was detected in two spots, Masaka district and near Entebbe on the shores of Lake Victoria, where massive deaths of birds on a beach were discovered. With ban on Ugandan birds, Kenyan traders are prospecting a boom.
Tangu tuanze kushuhudia vifo vya kuku kule Uganda. Kwa sasa tunafaidika, tunaweza kupata pesa kidogo ya kupeleka watoto wetu tafuta pesa ya school fees, watoto wanasoma.
Serikali ya government ya Busia itusaidie sisi kwa ajili ya kuweka security hiyo kuku isivuke Kenya, isituletee shida, sisi tukose kufanya kazi, waseme kuku yetu tunatoa Uganda. Lakini kuku ya Kenya, kuku sisi tunatoa yetu Kenya.
For now, Kenyans urged to be on the lookout for any unusual deaths of poultry and wild birds and report them to veterinary and public health officials. They have also been advised to ensure that all poultry and meat products have been inspected before consumption.
We take another short break, but still to come. Small-scale farmers now to expect improvements in earnings. Tallow Oil Company discovers more oil and government increases funding to feed starving Kenyans. Don't go away. Tallow Oil Exploration and Production Company announced the discovery of more oil at the Erut 1 well in Block 13T, Turkana County. In a press release to the media houses, the company stated that Tallow Oil has discovered a gross oil interval of 55 meters with 25 meters of net oil pay at a depth of 700 meters. The overall oil column for the field is considered to be 100 to 125 meters. The government has released an additional Kenya shillings 1.6 billion to address increasing needs for human, livestock and wildlife in 23 counties across the country as effects of hunger continues to bite. The additional funding will go towards upscaling of water tracking and storage for people, livestock and wildlife, distribution of water bowsers, repair, rehabilitation and maintenance of boreholes, and fuel subsidy for the boreholes. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Willie Bett also reassures Kenyans that the government is on top of the situation with 21 million bags of maize available to feed the country for 5 months, and that the government has been distributing relief food to 1.5 million Kenyans, a majority of whom are in the ASAL counties. Small-scale farmers can now expect improvements in earnings and ready markets for their produce, riding on the Tukuze portal by MasterCard. Through the mobile-based marketplace, farmers are linked to buyers, agents, and banks. MasterCard Sub-Saharan Africa President Daniel Monehin says the system will be crucial in reducing post-harvest loss. Still to come, tea prices start New Year on a high note at Mombasa auction, and milk farms hunt for new energy sources as power cuts persist. Don't go away. Welcome back. Tea prices at the Mombasa auction kicked off 2017 on a high note, nearly touching a one-year record during the last auction. A market report by the East African Tea Traders Association indicates that a kilogram of made tea fetched Kenya shillings 246, 268 on average in the last trading, compared with the 260 shillings in earlier sale.
It's the cash crop that is being focused on by everybody. It's starting comfortably, but everywhere you go, every county wants to take a pinch of it.
Farmer never knows what happens in the auction. But what we are doing is we want to involve the farmer in the entire, because who is the owner of the crop? It is a farmer. We surely have to get more value for our tea and ensure that our farmer earns more from it. It is only through value addition. As a country, we need to consume more tea. And how do we go about consuming more tea? We need to come up with a strategy on specifically ensuring that Kenya, for example, increases its consumption of tea.
The escalating cost of electricity is one of the major challenges that investors in the dairy industry are grappling with. Aside from being expensive, the power supply has been unreliable, with increased interruptions due to huge demand. Over the recent past, the country has been faced with the rescheduled power supply, forcing processors to look for alternative energy sources in order to keep their operations running round the clock. This brings us to the end of this week's bulletin. Thank you for tuning Farmers TV. Till next time, cheers.